Welcome to the Coaching Revealed podcast series on the journey to coaching success. I'm one of your podcast hosts, Emily Terrani. In today's episode, I'm joined with IOC Podcast host, Austin Matzelle, as we interview Janae Bell, a Harvard MBA graduate and newly ICF and IPEC certified coach. Janae started her career in corporate strategy and management consulting and transitioned to coaching, where she focuses on helping people be authentic, find their superpower, and thrive. As a recent MBA grad and newer coach, Janae reflects on what brought her into the field at this stage of her career. She was uniquely exposed to coaching and consulting at an early age, which was solidified through her education and engagement with coaching research. Her passion shines through as we discuss her curiosity-based approach to coaching. While developing her practice and directly impacting clients, Janae discusses the hurdles of developing a new practice, while also encountering the possibility of establishing a coaching niche. We close the episode with Janae's current outlook on both her own career and the space of the coaching field as she continues to develop her own practice and acknowledges the power coaches can have to positively impact clients. Thank you for tuning into Coaching Revealed. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome Janae. We are with Janae Bell here, and I'm personally really excited to be talking with you. I know that we're both younger and newer coaches, which is the focus of our conversation today. And so I think it would just be great to start off if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, and then we can jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. So hello, everyone. My name is Janae Bell. As Emily mentioned, I am a new coach. So a little bit about my background. I got my bachelor's from Harvard University, studied economics and psychology, and really got exposed to the business world then, started my career in corporate strategy, and then moved on to management consulting. Through my consulting experience, I was able to gain project experience with regards to people strategy and people enablement. And I just found that I loved that space. And so really ever since then, I was looking for opportunities where I could engage with people and really focus on how can I support and build environments in which individuals thrive in. Shortly before going into business school, I matriculated into a coaching program and really just loved that space. I remember joking with folks, we would be in 10-hour-long Zoom calls, and I would just feel so excited to even talk about coaching for 10 hours longer once we got off the call. And so it really felt like I found the right space for me. And so then I went into business school. I went back to Harvard and was really eager and searching for opportunities in the people space as well. And so now we'll be entering a senior HR manager role. And then also adjacent to that, got my ICF credential. And so really just exploring opportunities both within the HR field as well as bringing coaching into the corporate space.
That's amazing. And your passion has always shown through every time I talk to you. I'm wondering, was coaching something that you knew you wanted to do when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely. So my parents have been operating a consulting business for decades. And as a kid, the way I sort of interpreted or saw what they did for a living was that they were supporting individuals and their clients to receive the results that they wanted. And I saw the gratification both on my parents' faces as well as the clients. And so the way I saw that as a 5-year-old was, I want to help people do whatever it is that they want to do better. And so I was always finding roles where supporting others to be the best that they could be was inherent in that role. And I think gratefully, as I've navigated my career, the coaching industry itself continued to take greater and greater form. And I think it just came to this beautiful cross-section where it was shortly after the pandemic, and I really had the time and space to just do some independent research related to my interests. And I very much in layman terms said, what careers are related to supporting people to be their best, and came across different coaching schools, came across the ICF. And again, once I participated in the programming, nothing quite aligned like coaching has been for me. And so very grateful that I came across that opportunity.
That's amazing. And I also really love how it sounds as if you've really grown up in the coaching or consulting industries. Like it's been a lifelong journey for you already. Now that you are a coach yourself, what are some of the words, or what is your personal coaching approach that you look to bring to the clients you work with?
Yeah, so I am very passionate about supporting individuals, groups, or people to tap into their authenticity, tap into their power, and really like working with folks who have intentionality in mind. And the reason why I came to this niche or purpose was I find that people are so much more successful, engaged, powerful in whatever roles they step into when it feels like it's something that is aligned to them. And I always joke that everyone has this like Beyonce quality, I like to say, which is like something about yourself that you can't teach. And it's just something inherent in your glow and your power. And so I love supporting people in navigating to what that is for them. And what I've often found inherent in that journey is it's often a process of uncovering qualities about yourself versus discovering, which I think is really cool. To kind of paint a picture around that, just for myself, it was interesting that when I was 5 years old, I knew I was really passionate about coaching. And so my journey itself has been almost bringing me back to that knowledge that I had when I was a child. And I think that is a really cool nugget that I have found in a lot of the clients I've worked with. Like, what are the things that kind of lit you up when you were a child or earlier on in your life? Shaping and guiding folks to a more authentic, intentional, powerful aspect of themselves, I really want to navigate individuals to.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to bring people towards that place of they're really understanding who they are and they're being true to themselves. Within the clients you're working with now, are there specific industries you're working with, or is there a specific niche that you're working with as a coach, or are you working with anyone who's looking to find their authenticity?
So I work with individuals across industries. I think the commonality that I often find is that they're often at a point of transition, or they have this feeling that there's just more to be achieved or enjoyed or experienced in their current opportunity. So, for example, if they're in a job that they enjoy, but they feel like it's not quite utilizing their skill sets or their strengths, or if they're deciding what opportunity to do next, or if they feel like they just want more fulfillment and joy out of their experiences, it's often that there's some sort of powerful inflection point that they feel like is in front of them versus one particular industry. And so I've been working with folks across different industries that feel like a change is coming.
Ready to advance your coaching practice? Join the Institute of Coaching and tap into the world's leading resource for coaching science and professional development. With over 4,000 members across 130 countries, the IOC offers invaluable networking opportunities with an elite global coaching community and innovative learning to broaden your knowledge and keep you at the forefront of coaching best practices. Engage in cutting-edge learning events with world-renowned coaching scholars, from webinars and seminars to discussion groups, research projects, and more. Try any membership free for 30 days. Use promo code IOC Podcast and visit instituteofcoaching.org/join to get started. I'm curious how you've started off. Like, how did you get your first few clients? How have you been building the practice too?
Yeah. So something that's been really helpful for me is being a part of the coaching school that I was in. So I was a participant in the IPEC program. So it stands for Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. And part of the program and part of the training is that you do one-on-one coaching sessions with other folks in the program. And so you're really building the competency and the skill set in coaching. So what's been really great is I've been collaborating with folks that I was engaged with in the program since we've graduated to host events together, or to sort of just brainstorm and thought share about how we seek clients and building clientele. Another really great thing for me, because I actually really enjoy group format coaching, is reaching out to organizations in which I can conduct speaking engagements for. And that's been really great because I'm able to engage with a lot of individuals at one point in time. And something that I find about coaching that's really powerful when you're building a practice is it's an industry that I find that clients want to experience you in some way. And so doing speaking engagements has been really helpful for me to have clients sort of see how I work and if I would be a good fit for them. Those two things, engaging with other coaches, building the practice, as well as just putting myself out there and doing speaking engagements and showing folks what I do, has been really helpful.
I'm really hearing the community and the network that you have coming through, and being brave, putting yourself out there in a speaking engagement definitely takes some courage. What's coming up for me, and I can speak to as a newer coach, is just like having that confidence to know that you're capable and can do it. Has that been a factor for you? Like, what have been some of the things that you've worked through as you've gotten started that you felt maybe hesitant about?
Yeah. Well, I love that you're saying this, because definitely a message that I want to share with folks interested in this industry or being a new coach is you very much have to go on a personal journey yourself as a coach. So I think when I did my coaching program, my initial thought was just I was going to learn the skills to be a strong coach. Inherent in my program, it was very much we were often the client. And so were we willing to be vulnerable? Were we willing to practice presence? We would do one-on-one coaching sessions with other participants. And so literally we would often be the client. My confidence has been built because I've been willing to go through a very similar journey that I ask my clients to go through as well. Preparing for a speaking engagement, for example, I have to talk to myself in a very similar way that I would to the clients that I work with. And so I think the confidence is a muscle, really, that's continuously exercised. And I think that will just kind of be inherent in this path. And so it's interesting, right? Like to be in the role of a coach, but very much you are doing very similar work that your client does, which I think is what makes our work really powerful and effective.
Yeah, if we want our clients to be authentic and vulnerable, we need to too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really like how you're talking so much to the point of, as a coach, also being coached. Is that something that you are still doing currently in this time in your career? Are you still meeting with fellow coaches? Are you still having mentor coaching or any other form of being coached currently?
Yes. I love engaging with other coaches. So I attended the International Coaching Federation conference last year. And just had a blast being able to learn from a lot of coaches and a lot of cool methodologies that they're learning. There's a coach who, her name is Dasha Dare, and she created a methodology called the Dare Method, where she incorporates photography in her practice, which is super cool. She takes photos of clients both before and after session, and you can sort of see progress that way. And so even just learning how coaches are documenting the process of their clients or the methodologies they're using, I think is super important. I constantly seek out mentorship and just sort of have conversations. I think it's super, super important to make sure that you are a student throughout this entire process. And I love to just learn how other folks are building their practices and how they're continuing to evolve as a coach. I think it's really essential.
Absolutely. And so I'm wondering, as someone who's recently finished an MBA program and is emerging into their coaching career, do you find there's any key barriers to entering and starting out a coaching practice?
Well, I think what was really interesting is that during my MBA program, I realized that I was a lot of my peers' first exposure to this industry. And so when I would share that I was interested in coaching and people strategy, people enablement, a lot of folks were asking me questions of like how I got into the space, what is the space? And so I think a potential obstacle for younger coaches is just this idea of, is this a field that I can go into simply because I don't see a lot of my peers doing the same thing? And so I'm really glad that I was able to be that face. Now, what I love, though, is when I do talk to a lot of my peers, what their favorite thing about their career is their ability to help people. And so I loved being able to share with them that you can be a great coach in the careers that you're in, right? That skill set will always be really important. I think if managers knew how to coach all of their professionals really well, like imagine just the growth and the power that could be inherent in every industry. And so I think it's really, really important that younger individuals are aware of coaching and aware of effective coaching, because one thing I love about coaching is that it really does exist in every space, both in your personal life and your professional life.
I would argue coaching skills are beneficial for any situation. So definitely with you there. I'm wondering, when you're talking with your peers, what are the top questions that you get from them? What are they most curious about? What's usually the most helpful for them to learn about when you speak to coaching?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of similar to what I was saying, more thinking that coaching is something that exists in multiple roles versus being a role in and of itself. And so I think just curious, like, what does a day in the life of a coach look like? Do I have to focus on a particular area? Do I have to have decades and decades of experience in order to be a coach in this space? I find that it's hard for them to really digest coaching being a career that you can do full time. And so just curious what the day in the life looks like, and precisely what coaching is and what a session looks like. A lot of folks don't know, like, very tactically what happens in a coaching session. And so I think really just the education of what coaching is something that's really important to encourage people to explore the space.
Do you find that anybody is concerned about age? Because that's something that I've had to work through. Typically, when I think of coaches, they have life experience, professional experience in whatever industry they're working with their clients. And I'm coming in this early in my career with no prior experience in whatever domain it is. If you could speak to that and what your experience has been, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do think age is a concern. And interestingly enough, it was a concern of mine. And I actually think the coaching program I was in did a really great job of dispelling that myth. I think what a lot of folks think coaching is that you need to have decades of experience in order to be able to guide other folks appropriately in that space. But what I learned about coaching is that, particularly because it's a method that's very curiosity-based, it really actually centers the client and their experiences. Can you be really present with a client? Can you guide them appropriately to get them to the outcomes that they want to do? And so in my own programming, I was able to help clients from a variety of different experiences that I didn't resonate with. But given that I was able to share with them, again, the toolkit of presence and curiosity, I was able to really support them. I love the idea of being able to share that really, to be a great coach, it's more so those skill sets versus decades of experience. And really, when you think about it, just because it's my experience and my story, inherently, there will be a limit to the experiences that I'll be able to resonate with my clients, right? And so really what it comes down to is, can I appropriately guide them to the outcomes that's best for them? And so, yeah, although I definitely think age is a concern, and it is actually valuable in some contexts, I definitely don't think it's a prerequisite. And so really want people to explore coaching if it's of interest to them, and they'll be a valuable coach because of it.
Yeah, I'm interested in building presence and curiosity as skill sets, as you mentioned. How do you see the impact of your curiosity on that client in a coaching interaction?
What I love about a curiosity-led approach that I find is inherent in coaching is that the client is much more bought into the outcomes of the discussions because it was largely an outcome that was driven by them, right? So rather than me just spewing advice and them choosing to accept it or not, taking a curiosity-based approach allows their own wheels to turn and allows their own problem solving to be inherent in the session. And so I find that clients are much more likely to really implement what we talked about in session because they feel bought into it. I think that's something that's really powerful about coaching. And so I think my ability to be curious in session has allowed, honestly, results to be one that are consistently and greatly established because it's ones that the clients sort of derive themselves.
That's amazing. So I think I'll switch gears here a little bit and ask you to reflect on what has been one of your biggest challenges.
One of the biggest challenges is probably a little bit what we touched on before, is this idea that you really have to put yourself out there in order to build a coaching practice. And I say that because I think, particularly because my intention is to have folks engage in the coaching industry that maybe haven't before, I think I have to do a lot of work in making sure that folks are familiar with what coaching is, familiar with what coaching is not, know what it looks and feels like to engage with me as a coach. And it's quite a vulnerable position to put yourself out there, give different speaking engagements, when at the same time you're kind of building experience as well. But I think it's a really powerful experience. And it was one that was also inherent in my MBA, which is, do you have the confidence to sort of step out even when you don't have all the answers? And so that's been something that has been challenging, but I think building more comfortability around putting myself out there has been honestly the difference between getting clients and not. I think I have found that I have been able to work with a lot more people as a result of hosting a workshop or hosting a speaking engagement because people, again, know what it feels like and looks like to potentially work with me.
We've talked a bunch about curiosity and learning within the coaching environment. I'm wondering, as someone who is a newer coach, what advice would you want from more experienced coaches? Or if you have a conversation with a more experienced coach, what questions do you find yourself wanting to ask them?
I think a question that often comes to mind to me is like the infamous to niche or not to niche. And so basically, should you have specific areas, specific client groups that you work with, or do you allow your coaching practice to sort of evolve based on the needs that you sort of see around you? That's something that I'm really fascinated by because I imagine that there is a balance to be had. I think in the conversations that I've had with experienced coaches so far, I've heard both approaches. And so I'd be really curious to kind of hear just more and more experiences around like, what do you think is really important to have as a new coach, and maybe what evolves naturally as a result of having more experience as a coach? Is having a niche sort of related to where you are at your career? Just a lot of questions sort of arrive from that main question of how important it is to double click on a particular area or really focus on the methodology of coaching and sort of support a variety of different client groups that may find you as a coach to work with.
So for you, what are you thinking some of your next steps are in this space? Are you thinking you're going to continue without niching, or are you starting to potentially see a niche emerging for yourself?
Yeah, so I think I have found that I love themes that tend to be quite cross-functional. So whether it's with intentionality or authenticity. And so I think my next questions are there particular groups of people that I want to focus on in terms of translating those themes? Are there particular environments in which I want to find folks that are interested in those themes? Those are kind of like the open questions. And so where do I want to double click on when it comes to translating themes of authenticity or intentionality?
As a coach, do you have any like trainings coming up or specific things that you're looking to learn more about for your coaching tool belt?
Something that I have sort of in my pipeline is I'm hosting weekly coaching sessions where I'm inviting individuals to come to something I'm hosting once a weekend related to a topic related to betterment in your personal or professional life. And so I'm really curious to see how folks engage with each topic. And I think that would be really helpful information for me when it comes to perhaps what themes and what topics that I want to double click or go down on based off of the demand that I'm sensing from my audience. And so really excited to see how that will continuously inform what topics and subjects that I do want to coach on.
That seems like a really creative and cool approach. I'm wondering what your vision is for yourself in the coaching world and how it compares to where you currently are. So how has it been, starting up, evolving, and where would you see, it's like where you see yourself in 5 years, but when you're like, I want to be a coach, what was your vision for yourself and how is it going?
So I think it's shifted. I would say my vision right now, and this is really informed by my experience at my MBA program, is to be a part of the group of coaches that makes this industry very digestible to folks who've never engaged with it in the past. And so I really want to be a part of educating individuals as to what coaching is, integrating it ideally in corporate spaces. I think that's a great way to get in front of lots of people that are interested in themes related to skilling and learning and development, but integrating the coaching methodology, giving them exposure to the ICF, giving them exposure to groups like the Institute of Coaching, like getting in front of a lot of groups of people that already have this interest in being their best, but having that sit at a beautiful cross section of what coaching education properly is. And so I think being a part of my MBA program and realizing that people really do have an interest for coaching, but might not have the language for it yet, I would love to be a leader within that bridge.
Yeah, and that's crucial because most of the people I talk to when I say I'm a coach, they have no idea what I'm talking about if they're not in the coaching world, but almost everybody is interested in it, wants it, needs it. So that's a huge thing I think that the coaching industry needs, which actually segues perfectly into my next question for you, which is what is your vision for the coaching world at large? How would you like to see it evolve as time progresses?
I love that question. I would say I would love for coaching to be one that feels incredibly accessible. I think the specific ways in which I see that is given that coaching is really instrumental in supporting people to get from A to B. I want folks to really know and feel like they have access to professionals that can support them in doing that. I think we have millions of goals. We have so many different milestones that we want to achieve. And I really want it to be translated that you don't have to do any of those things on your own, that there's an extensive network of professionals that are eager to engage with you that really want to support you in doing that. And I want it to be a service that is something that a lot of people can take advantage of. And so I hope that the coaching industry is one that most people actually engage with and are aware of the benefits.
Yeah, I hear kind of that community approach coming up again, not only with these weekly weekend groups that you're doing, but then also in that vision you have for coaching in the future. When you start a relationship with a client or a coaching engagement with a client, what are some of those things that you're hoping to bring to that individual, or how are you setting up the space for them to achieve what their goals or aspirations are?
Yeah, so I start out each session by asking the client what they would like to get out of that session. And I do that specifically because I want to make sure that they're aware that they are in the driver's seat of our relationship. I'm absolutely there to be a support and a guide, but I want them to feel like if their mind changes or if their goal changes, that we can absolutely center that goal when it comes to moving forward in our relationship. I think it serves a really important purpose to continuously remind them that my goal is to be here to support you. Inherent in our relationship, what they come to find is that I take a very curiosity-based approach. And so I really give them the space to really share what's on their mind, right? How often do we find ourselves in contexts where for, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour, folks are just really curious as to what's on your mind related to where you want to go in life. And so my big goal when I work with individuals is that they know that they're in the driver's seat, and I find that that empowers them greatly. And then also that I'm curious to know where they want to take the conversations and what goals that they want to achieve, just so that they know that someone's in their corner and wants them to be the most authentic versions of themselves.
I'm wondering if you think back to that, the 5-year-old version of yourself who had goal parents working in the consulting business and that industry, would you give her any advice, or what would you tell her about the life that's upcoming for her?
Ooh, such a good question. I think the advice that I would give her is to trust what excites you, because I found that I moved slightly away from my coaching interests when I found that when I shared with folks, for example, that I want to help people to do whatever they want to do better, I found that when I said that, it didn't necessarily resonate with folks that I was talking to, because it wasn't as digestible as like wanting to be a doctor or wanting to be a lawyer, right? And so I think that kind of dissuaded me from finding that in a career, because I found that it didn't quite resonate with those around me. And so I would say trust what excites you, because that will probably always be the thing in the background that will just be inherent in your experiences, inherent in your interests, because it's just something that you can't shake. And there's a reason why that is what specifically excites you. And I found that the more that I lean into what is exciting to me, the more opportunities open up, the more enthusiasm I have in that role, the better performing that I am in that role. So to myself and to everyone, really trust what excites you, because that's likely where your superpower lies.
Love that. Yeah. And I can see where what you're saying kind of can sound like far off for people, but it now is a tangible, real, concrete job that you've found. So it's amazing that you found your passion and your calling. Did you have any key mentors or their influential people that inspired you as you've gone in here?
Well, I will say that my family has always been great support to me in terms of wanting me to find areas that I am passionate and excited about. So although I wasn't always quite sure that coaching could be a career for me, I think I was always supported in being on the journey to find what career could be. And so they really motivated me to just keep going, to try to find and or create coaching opportunities for myself. So I'm grateful that I've been able to grow up alongside the industry and sort of have access to the industry. But I really think what was encouraging to me was just this idea of you are worthy and deserving of a career that you're really excited about. And so just keep searching for it. And I really find that when I work with my clients, what's really powerful are like the little tangible steps that you take along your journey. And so really, I have found for myself, like, after I finish a work experience, I'll ask myself, okay, what parts of this role was exciting? What parts of this role were draining? And then I make pivots related to what was exciting. And I find that that's inherent in all of our journeys. Like, do you just have the motivation to keep going and keep finding the thing that's precisely exciting for you? I think that theme from my support network has always been really helpful.
Sounds like you had the support to explore, but you weren't they were connected to the coaching world through the consulting, but it wasn't forced down your throat. They gave you that space to figure out that, no, this is really what you loved on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because they were creators as well, being entrepreneurs, that was also really helpful, right? This idea that you can absolutely find what you're interested in, or you can create and build it. And so I think I even had just an entrepreneurial mindset to just kind of create the opportunities that were exciting to me. And so although I have stepped into the coaching industry now, I think even in the past, I created mentorship opportunities alongside my roles. And so even though I might have developed the language of the coaching industry now, I think it's always something that I've kind of been doing along the way.
And so this will be our last question before we just do some wrap up and key takeaways. But is there a really memorable or particular rewarding experience that comes to mind in your journey as a coach?
Yeah, so very recently, I hosted a authentic decision-making workshop at the Harvard Business School. So I very recently graduated back in May, and I just hosted this workshop for my peers. And I found really the motivation for it was that a lot of the second year students, so it's a 2-year program, this next phase of life and really wanting it to be one that feels very aligned to their own interest. And so I wanted to host this workshop for multiple reasons. I think one, giving them practical tools that I have used when it comes to making authentic decisions, but also just expose to them, like, again, the type of work that I do and what coaching is. And it was just such a great experience. I had a lot of my friends sort of reach out afterwards, mentioning that they have shared what we talked about in session with other friends. I actually had one friend in particular share that as a result of the session, they were inspired to actually start their career in another country, which was super cool. So just really tangible results from this experience with my peers in an environment that has been so inspiring to me was really, really cool. And I think really doubled down for me that authenticity is a theme that I really want to speak on.
Yeah, and look at that ripple effect you're having. Mm-hmm. You're impacting people who are impacting people.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so cool to see from just one session, people focusing in on their authenticity are making such impactful life decisions. It's cool that you help curate that space.
Yes, absolutely. It was really cool. I just saw folks kind of light up during the session, and I had a lot of informal conversations afterwards. And it just really revealed that this is something that folks are thinking about, but maybe don't often have the space or the tools to implement some of those dreams and desires. So I'm really grateful that I was able to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of to start wrapping us up, I'm wondering for anyone who's listening to today's conversation and they would like to be able to stay up to date with what you're up to and what you're doing, do you have a website, social media, or a way that people can stay in contact with you or reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best way to stay in contact with me would definitely be through LinkedIn. So through there, I share all these updates of workshops that I have and the speaking engagements, and also share content. So my URL would be linkedin.com/IN/Janae M. Bell. So JANAE M. Bell.
And okay, I lied. One more final question for someone listening out there today who was listening in. what do you hope is one thing that they take away?
I would love for people to have a better idea of what coaching is. I would love for folks to feel like it's something that they can tap into. And I also really want people to realize that to have a coaching toolkit is going to be important and pay dividends in every space of your life. So if you want to be a better leader, if you want to be a better friend, if you want to show up better in your relationships, to be able to listen with curiosity, to practice presence with other people, to be able to guide folks in the direction that they want to. I can't think of a space where those skill sets aren't valuable. And so would love for folks to just get curious about coaching themselves and find ways that they could engage some of the tools and principles in their own areas of life. And you definitely don't have to pursue a coaching career full time, but definitely encourage folks to learn more about it and see how it will improve and impact their own life.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's been such a great time getting to talk with you today, Janae, and just getting to learn more about your history and background and where you're going next. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Coaching Revealed, brought to you by the Institute of Coaching. You can learn more about the Institute on our website at instituteofcoaching.org. You can stay up to date with new episodes of our podcast by liking and following Coaching Revealed. You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, and X with the handle Institute of Coaching. We also love hearing from our guests, so please reach out to us with thoughts you have on this episode and any questions you have about coaching. Until next time, this is Emily Terrani with Coaching Revealed.